things. Hey, good morning, everyone. It is April 22nd. We'll be beginning our regular Board of County Commissioners meeting in just a few moments. Before we begin, I'd like to invite Dallas Schroeder to give an invocation and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Father in heaven, how good it is to come to you. Father, acknowledging you as our creator and our sustainer. And Father, particularly in times of trouble and uncertainty, to know that you care about each and every one of us is comforting. Father, I just pray that you'll be with our country and indeed the world as we face this illness. Father, we know it's not too big for you, and we're so thankful that it's not reaching the proportions of what people first thought, and we thank you for intervening in that. And Father, as we move forward, I just pray that you'll help to subside the fear and panic that people are feeling. Father, to know that we are on the right track of defeating this. And Father, we know that you are in control, that you are the sustainer of life, and you set the seasons in motion. And we recognize that now in this springtime when we see the calves and frolicking in the fields and the songbirds coming back and the grass is turning greener, and we're thankful for that constancy and certainty we have from you. Father, I pray that you'll be with our leaders at the national and the state and local level. Father, that they turn to you for guidance and for wisdom. It's in the name of Christ I pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the time is now 9:02. Amanda, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Richardson?
Here.
Commissioner Thayer?
Here.
Commissioner Pettit?
Here.
Thanks. This is our first Board of County Commissioners meeting that's fully done electronically with remote participation from the citizens. Our last meeting, regular meeting, was canceled, just trying to consolidate the times that we have to get people together to do any face-to-face work. The meeting prior to that was streamed on Facebook Live and was open to the public, and we did have 2 members of the public attend that one. We'll be discussing a little later some changes in policy to the meeting, our meeting policy that support that. Just ask that everybody use the mics as well as they can. We've gotten some feedback that, at least on the Facebook Live piece, that the audio is a little bit quiet. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda. I believe we have a couple of small changes.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agenda as presented with the 2 following revisions. One, to add item 7 to the consent agenda, guidance for reopening businesses. And then the second would be to delete number 2 on the land use hearing this afternoon, because that item has already been continued.
Alrighty. Is that, I'm seeing some confusion from CDS. The minutes from the last meeting indicated we had continued it already to the 13th. If we're tracking, or do you believe we still need to? Okay.
So is that okay, Christina?
We had
Okay.
previously continued. Okay, yeah, so striking that item would be appropriate, I think. So we have a motion and a second.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion and a second to approve the agenda with those 2 changes. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion. We approve the consent agenda with the change as presented before.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with changes. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, elected officials, department heads, staff reports. Dallas or Sherry, do you have anything? Okay. Sherry. Hello, Sherry.
Hi, Sherry Hewlett, Elbert County Treasurer and Public Trustee. I guess I just wanted to let the citizens know next week is our full payment deadline. We're still waiving first half interest through the 30th based on the governor's order. I'm just asking the citizens, for those that were going to pay their taxes in person, so to speak, if they would try to utilize the mail more and the drop box out there at the SEB building or online services, just because we're sharing the drive-through with motor vehicle, and they're going to have probably a big crunch as well with renewals at the end of the month. So if they don't want to wait in line, I would recommend that they use the mail or our online services. Anyone with cash payments, just call our main number, 621-3120, and we'd be happy to come out and meet them outside the building, collect their cash and get the receipt. And then on the public trustee side, same thing, give us a call if they have any urgent requests or questions. Right now, public trustee process is pretty quiet, so not much going on there. But anyway, that would be my recommendation as the treasurer, to utilize the mail, online services, and the drop box for their tax payments. That way it might cut down on some congestion there at the drive-through next week. So, all right.
Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
Sam, you had a few items, I believe.
I do. I believe the first one is the COVID-19 report. So just an update from the county staff side on the COVID-19 emergency and our emergency response team. We continue to meet daily. The county continues to extend the declaration of emergency, and there were several extensions in the consent agenda today. We're still continuing to do that on a week-by-week basis. As we know now, we're starting to look at reopening some businesses throughout the county, and the Board of Health has provided some guidance to that that will be up on the website today and went out to press and stakeholders yesterday. The county offices continue to be closed to walk-up traffic this week. We're going to start looking at phasing opening of that. We need to get some equipment in place for that. It's been ordered and is being constructed, and we hope to have that. We'll continue to provide updates on which offices are going to be open when in the coming next week. We'll start getting that information out, but they can pretty much plan on everything being the same as it is now, closed to walk-up traffic next week. Emergency response team continues to meet daily to provide support to the first responders, towns, food banks, school districts, and other community organizations. We do have a web page now also dedicated to provide information for individuals and businesses on resources available to them through the state and feds. We continue to provide updated information via social media, press releases, the Board of Health virtual meetings, as well as the website. And like I said, we are starting to plan for reopening and recovery and any potential fiscal impacts to the county because of the COVID-19 outbreak.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? All right, thanks for that update.
All right, I've got another one.
All righty.
This is the proclamation recognizing April 22nd as Administrative Professionals Day in Elbert County, Colorado. As you know, we could not get near as much stuff done without our professionals in the administration. So I'm very proud to read this today. Administrative Professionals Day in Elbert County, Colorado, April 22nd, 2020. Whereas April 22nd, 2020 is celebrated in workplaces nationwide as Administrative Professionals Day, and Elbert County government has many administrative professionals to celebrate. And whereas the efforts of these professionals and their contributions are significant and allow the county to accomplish its responsibilities to the residents of Elbert County in the areas of public safety, public works, human resources, and so many other functions associated with the efficient operations of a Colorado County government. And whereas the knowledge, dedication, and public service contributed by Elbert County administrative professionals is vital to our success, and whereas Elbert County citizens depend on the county's administrative professionals for the role they play in the provision of public services throughout the county, and whereas Administrative Professional Day recognizes and the contributions of administrative professionals to the success of workplaces everywhere, now therefore be it resolved by the Elbert County Board of County Commissioners that we, the members of the Elbert County Board of County Commissioners, proclaim April 22nd, 2020 as Administrative Professionals Day in Elbert County, Colorado. 2, that we hereby express our sincere appreciation to our administrative professionals. And 3, that we urge all businesses and industries to join in giving them special recognition.
Thank you. Any comments?
It's a pleasure to work with each and every one of them.
Yeah, I just appreciate everybody's hard work and everything, especially with, under the conditions we're working in now, which sort of is gonna change the way we probably do things in the future.
Yeah, definitely changes. I mean, traditionally, after that proclamation, we probably would have stood over by the flags and taken a picture with many of the folks that work in administration in the county, and kind of sadly unable to do that, but certainly we do appreciate everything that everybody does every day. Our clerk to the board, who's a little off camera, probably our one representative of that group here in the room today, so thank you on behalf of all. Alrighty, I think we have one other proclamation.
I have another proclamation. This one is regarding National Volunteer Appreciation Week. And as you know, we depend heavily on volunteers in the county also. And I think this proclamation captures that. Proclamation, National Volunteer Week in Elbert County, Colorado, April 19th through the 25th, 2020. Whereas the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, has declared April 19th through 25th, 2020 as National Volunteer Week in our nation, and whereas Elbert County directly benefits from the generous donation of time by volunteers in many areas of its operations, and whereas the dedicated service of these community members at every level of the organization allows Elbert County to provide higher levels of service in many aspects of its operations, and whereas Elbert County appreciates the valuable service of its many volunteers, now therefore be it resolved by the Elbert County Board of County Commissioners, 1, that we, the members of the Elbert County Board of County Commissioners, proclaim April 19th through 25th, 2020 as Volunteer Week in Elbert County, Colorado. 2, that we specifically thank the many volunteers that support Elbert County government directly, including Elbert County's Planning Commissioners, the Elbert County Sheriff's Office Posse, the Elbert County Fair Board, and CSU Cooperative Extension, and volunteers in the Office of Emergency Management and other departments throughout the county. 3, that we also express our appreciation to the countless volunteers who serve the community, the county, state, nation, and world we live in.
Yeah, just certainly during this time, I mean, we're a small county with a relatively small staff, and folks leaning in and directly supporting the county are invaluable. And then, you know, in the current situation, the folks that are out at our food banks, ECHO, all the others, those that are supporting through their churches, community members, it's just tremendous response as always. So thank you for that, Sam. Alrighty, I don't believe we have any other reports at this time. This is the time generally we have citizen public comment. For this meeting, we had asked that any comment be directed to the clerk to the board. Amanda, did you receive any emails regarding input for general public comment?
No, I did not.
Okay, no regular postal mail? And no phone calls from anybody wishing to pass on anything? Okay, so with that, we'll close general public comment. We did receive some emails to commissioners on a discussion item that we actually have coming up next. So the first discussion item we have are some a proposed change to the policy regarding Elbert County meetings. The proposed change, an updated policy, was in our packets. Specifically, the item that was being recommended for change provides additional detail on remote meetings such as this to ensure that we have public participation. We have clear guidance for how people can make public comment even if they can't be here in the room. Though we did not receive any requests today, the intent was if somebody wanted to make verbal public comment, we would have called them from the front desk here on speakerphone, had them recorded onto the mic and responded in any manner that was appropriate. Then additionally, as always, we take comment from the public via email or regular mail. With that, as I mentioned, we did receive, or at least I received, several emails on this item. Let's see. I would just review them briefly. So they're part of the, and we will have our discussion. So the first, and again, Amanda, I don't have the addresses associated with the names, so maybe for our next agenda, we ask people to include both name and address for the record. The first was from Jill Duvall. She had noted that within the policy, we had noted that we potentially could meet on Fridays for informal meetings at local restaurants, and if so, we would post those up here at the second floor of the building. It just conflicts with our regular posting. The second is expressing a concern that the item in C4 that allows the chair discretion to bar citizens that abuse public comment was potentially illegal or unconstitutional. Second comment I received was from Mr. John Dorman. He recommended adding to the new section that discusses electronic meetings, section 2A, paragraph 3, a sentence that said essentially at the end that in the event public comment's not possible in whole or part due to technical issues or other unavoidable circumstances, that no decisions by the Board of County Commissioners be made until public comment process has been completed. Third I had was from a Miss Doris Hubbard. She again questioned the authority to ban individuals that abused public comment, and concerned if that was a violation of First Amendment rights, and reminded us that we are elected officials. The fourth was from a Tika Etheridge. Again, very similar comments to Ms. Duvall and Ms. Hubbard regarding concerns over the legality of barring people that abuse public comment. And finally, one from Ms. Jennifer Smyers, again concerned about the barring, but conflated with the item that also says that public comment can be cut off if comments become repetitive. So those were the issues that were brought to my attention. Ask my fellow commissioners if they received any other email commentary.
I think all of us received similar type of emails.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't receive anything else.
Okay, thank you. And just to confirm, Amanda, you didn't receive anything on this item specifically? Correct. Okay, so those were the 4 items of discussion. Just for this purpose, I'd like to just start with what the purpose of the change to this regulation was, which was the insertion of the language that supported remote meetings and how we would notice remote meetings and accept input by alternate means. I'm very comfortable with the language that the attorney provided. Do you guys have any comments on that part of it?
No, I think you got it.
No, I agree.
Okay, so when we get to the end here, we can take a motion or decide whether we go forward with adopting it as presented, but I think that's, reasonable, and it describes how we're actually doing business, and it is within the guidance that was provided by the State Attorney General towards the end of last month. I believe it was the 27th. There were quite a few questions that came from local governments about how do we provide legally sufficient public meetings, and he had confirmed that the Colorado Open Meetings Law does not require public input at all at a regular public meeting. Clearly, public hearings require public comment, but for routine business and routine meetings, the public needed to be able to participate, and that participation required only that they be able to be present, and being present could be electronically, so viewing over Facebook Live, Zoom conferences, the other abilities to actually observe the actions of the government were sufficient to meet the law for public participation. We've always wanted more. We've built our agendas and our policies to take an awful lot more public comment. Throughout the years, this is a little bit weird to sit in a pretty much empty room without the public in front of us as we do our business, and I think we prefer to have them here, and hopefully that'll be the case as time goes on. But I'd kind of like your thoughts on the comments we got on.
Yeah, do you have any comment with respect to the Friday language?
Oh, yeah, I would, I think that was a good catch. That's a remnant from, quite honestly, from when Grant and I first took office. Prior to being elected and before being sworn in, we met with Commissioner Wilcox every Friday just to kind of get an update on how things were going and prepare ourselves for office. And we originally envisioned that continuing. Clearly it didn't, so I think we could just strike that entire paragraph E that referenced Friday meetings. If we have any special or out-of-cycle meetings, we'll notice them as we would any other special meeting, I think would cover that.
Yeah, I agree. I think we need to strike that, that paragraph.
All right,
You know,
any
one of the other-
thoughts or comments on the?
Yeah, one other comment is that, you have to have formal regulations for some of this stuff, but I'm a person that very much focuses on what's the practice. And our practice has always been, as long as I've been involved with county government, to respect individuals' opinions at public meetings. And, the question of being obnoxious and some things like that, that rarely happens. The public generally, and almost always, I should say, recognize that it's a process, they have a right, and we hear what they have to say. And each one of those comments are taken into consideration as we either consider action or we approve and implement some type of an action. We really do believe that our interaction with the public is important.
And, as far as, some of the comments about people making repetitive requests or whatever on public hearings and stuff, every organization that I've been a part of has always had that. If people just go on about the same subject, that you can then call for the question or whatever and continue on, rather than just I don't know how to say it, but just continuing on and not accomplishing anything. So every organization I've been part of, you've always seen that, and I think part of that is part of Robert's Rules of Order, that just to continue on with the meeting and accomplish what you need to get done.
Yeah, thank you, Rick. I'd agree. The comment on repetition, that really is, there's the fairly thick book, the Robert's Rules of Order. I know a lot of folks are familiar generally with how public meetings are run. Kids start learning it in 4-H. It's the chair's responsibility to maintain decorum in a meeting. It's the chair's responsibility to move the business of the meeting along. We always listen to what our citizens have to say, and we always take the issues they bring up into consideration in our decisions. I believe there's some language in the policy that public input provides an ability to raise issues of concern that can be addressed. It's not a public poll, and that essentially is correct. If somebody brings up an issue, we will address it. If the same issue is brought up 20 times, we'll still address that one issue. That part tremendously comfortable with, and in practice for years and years we've always allowed people to have their say. We've generally, at least in the time I've been chair, we've asked if somebody had, if we have other people waiting to comment, do they have anything substantially different? Do they still want to come up? Yes or no, and it continues. In terms of the legality or the effect on First Amendment rights, ability to petition the government, it's clearly illegal to not have public comment at all. And even if we ever got to a point where somebody abused the privilege of standing at the podium and addressing us in public, we would still welcome their comments by email or mail. Their ability to communicate their concerns would not be cut off. Thirdly, I just kind of wanted to add that there's a few things in our meeting agenda that highlight being overly political, profanity, etc. There's very few things that would rise to the level of abuse. I mean, if somebody is misusing the privilege to stand at the podium to promote their own business, invective profanity, to slander other citizens, to bring up purely political topics that don't have any relation to the county. And I believe there's probably one or two others that I think everybody would agree are kind of beyond the pale. And then it would have to be repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly before any of that action would be taken. As a chair, there are still checks and balances. There are things that are at the discretion of the chair. If I, as the chair, abuse that discretion, I have full confidence that my fellow commissioners would decide they want to reorganize and choose a different chair. This is not a one-person show, and whoever's in this chair has some responsibilities but no extra authorities. So I understand the concern. I've said in many public meetings that it's the right thing to have a healthy mistrust of government. That's the nature of the conservative area we live in, and I welcome that. But reasonable suspicion and just reaching out and asking and having discussions like this, I think, is the best way to dispel that. I'm comfortable with leaving it in. I'm comfortable with the legality of it. I think my fellow commissioners are. But again, the purpose of today's discussion item was really to add one single paragraph that supported remote meetings such as this. Mr. Dorman did make one comment and recommendation to add a sentence that we not make decisions if we felt we hadn't had adequate input. I don't think that's a bad idea. I don't think it necessarily needs to be codified in policy, because that has always been our method of operation. If we don't believe we have all the facts before us, we haven't shaken out all the issues that may occur, that we don't take action, we continue. Probably the best example of that was our consideration of the economic development zone language. That came before us, I would say, at least 4 times. Once was returned to the Planning Commission completely for a rewrite based on public input, and we continued to take public input and modify until we had a product that we thought was correct. A few weeks ago, this is more Planning Commission than us, there was a Planning Commission Zoom meeting on a topic. quite a bit of participation. On the surface looked great, but the folks that were most directly affected by the application that was being considered we're in an area that has really bad internet connectivity. That was recognized, that was continued, and I'm assuming will be continued until such time that either people can meet face-to-face again, or there's some method that they feel they can get public input that's adequate for their decision, and that's the kind of the same position we've been in. And I'm talking to an empty room too long, so I'll ask if there's any other comments.
Mr. Chairman, I think that we should consider striking the Friday language as we've discussed. And with that caveat, I'd like to move it to an action item, and I so move.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to strike the paragraph referring to Friday meetings that had conflicting posting guidance, and then adopt the changes to the policy that have been recommended. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Alrighty, our first action item was approval of minutes.
I'll make a motion, we approve the March 25th, 2020 minutes and dispense of the reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of our last commissioners meeting as presented and dispense with the reading. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next item we have is approval of our Board of Health meeting minutes from April 1st.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the April 1st, 2020 Board of Health minutes as written and dispense with the reading of those minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the April 1st Board of Health meeting as presented and dispense with the reading. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, our next item is a public hearing regarding a supplemental appropriation to cover emergency expenses that were incurred in 2019. I'd accept a motion to open public hearing.
I'll make a motion, we open public hearing for the supplemental appropriation for Road and Bridge Fund.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to open public hearing. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, we are in hearing. Sam, would you like to kind of give us the background on this?
Absolutely. Michelle wishes she was here, but she's at home on a work at home rotation because of COVID. This time of year is when we are finishing up the financials and are deep in the middle of the audit at this point in time. One of the things that we need to do for the 2019 year is do a supplemental appropriation for Road and Bridge of $150,000. Because of the increased cost to equipment and materials related to the bomb cyclone and to some extensive flooding and rain events that washed out roads multiple times. So that's what caused us to go over in that Road and Bridge Fund.
Okay, thank you. Alrighty. Like I said, routine cleaning up the books from 2019. Do you have any comments? Or?
No, my only comment is that every year at the end of the year, you find these items that had not been budgeted at the beginning of the year, and they're just actual items that have happened. And you have to, if you want to get a good appreciation of the audit that is going on right now, these what I call tidy up items that happen each and every year have to be taken care of.
Okay. At this point, I'd open for public comment. Specifically on this item, we did ask folks that may have comment to contact the clerk to the board. Amanda, did you receive any comment on this item? I did not. Okay, so no mail, email, or phone calls. Okay, so with that, I would close public comment and entertain a motion to approve the appropriation as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the supplemental appropriation for Road and Bridge Fund 020 for 2019, or 2019.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to approve the appropriation as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. I'll accept a motion to close.
I'll make a motion, we close the public hearing for the supplemental appropriation for Road and Bridge.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to close public hearing. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Motion carries, the hearing is closed. For anybody that may be watching the video now or in the future, if you go to the board packets that are available online, all the material that was discussed is here, so if anybody wants to see the details of where the appropriation was taken from, where it's going to, the background staff packets for this and all the other items within the agenda are available to you. If you have not signed up on our sunshine list to be notified of meetings, I'd encourage people to contact the clerk to the board to do so. The more that everybody knows about what's going on in their government, the better. So little plug for the clerk to the board. At this point, we'd move on to board planning. I think at the moment we should be planning to hold a meeting on May 13th as scheduled. Certainly, we've at least got the continuation of Quill Run to that date, and that will have to be considered, and I'm sure there's other matters of government we'll have to deal with.
It'll be a regular meeting. We'll start rolling some stuff onto the agenda here pretty soon, but right now it's nothing major, just normal business operations.
Okay.
We'll do another update on COVID-19. We'll do some maybe an update on finances and the audit, where we are with that. Also maybe the road and bridge transportation plan, where we are on that, that type of thing.
Okay, and I think it's probably the desire of all three of us that once we can assure we can mitigate risk to our employees and citizens, that we begin phasing reopening seats in this room for public meetings. And I know that may be some time before we're back up to our full fire marshal's limit of 59 people in this room, but that would be appreciated.
One other item I would like you to consider is just kind of an early analysis of revenue for our budget. Has the virus affected our expected revenues? And if so, is the impact material?
Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah, and I would add just overview of expenses directly related at this.
Correct that.
Thanks.
Yeah, that'll be a good supplement. We'll do that. We'll task Michelle to give that report.
I'm sure she's listening from home. Anything you'd like to add? Okay. So with that, the only pending item we have is a publicly noticed land use hearing at 1 p.m. today. The staff has recommended that be continued to a date time certain. So we will recess now, reconvene at 1300 to formally open, and then continue that hearing. So with that, I appreciate all who may have attended remotely today, and the few that we were able to allow into our room with proper social distancing. And we are in recess. Thank you.
Are we shut off?